The city is hoping to encourage residents considering upgrades to their properties near downtown. This comes as City Council recently considered an application regarding a home on 47th Street. Located at 5016 47th Street, the home is slated for demolition and a new home will be built in its place. With the house falling under the direct control district, the proposal had to go through City Council.
It is a residential area adjacent to downtown, deemed that. So the downtown, often people think of 50th, 49th. This is a greater area of the downtown. There is residential in the downtown core, as it's referred to, and certainly it's an important piece to the puzzle.
City Council was excited to pass this through, wanting to make more strides in modernizing the downtown area.
Some of those houses have been there a long time, beautiful lots, and I think someone said, hey, here's a treed lot that could be redeveloped, and they see the value of doing that. So I encourage people, if you're maintaining your home, great. If you feel that your home's reached that point, here's an opportunity to upgrade your home and maybe build a new home on that existing property. So there's properties for sale, and I'll put that plug in. The city has lots for sale for development, and I know there's people that have lots and properties that may be open to redevelopment.
Thomas Wildman joins me now with the weather. And Thomas, it looks like we're having another mixed bag of weather day and maybe a little bit of a thunder shower.
Yeah, just a little bit of thunder showers hitting us right now. That was expected to be happening in the afternoon. This late into the afternoon wasn't exactly on the bingo card yesterday, but for just in general, though, when we come out of the rain report there, rain's not going to be hitting us, at least not super hard over it's going to be a mix of sun and cloud throughout the rest of this week going into the weekend. A little bit of windiness, of course, here in the windy city of Lloydminster. But overall, we're having, those nice temperatures. Just, of course, there's always an asterisk with something else on top of it. Is it rain? Is it thunderstorms? Is it just wind? It's always wind, but it always just makes it sometimes a little bit tougher for us. A high of 22 for today. That's about normal. A little bit warmer on that low, 13 degrees, and a low of 9 degrees is usually the normal. We're still sitting at that 8.4 millimeters of rain so far, but that will be going up as we switch over to tomorrow with a little bit of rain that we're seeing right now. As you can see, we got lots of clouds right now, a high of 22. Wind chill, we're not really feeling that, but that 20-kilometer northwest wind certainly making the day not as perfect as it could be, but actually, providing a little bit of assistance, making it a very enjoyable day. Of course, those thunder showers will be making it less enjoyable as we go on. North Battleford's got a mix of sun and cloud for themselves today, 22 degrees and a nice 9-kilometer wind hitting them northwest for them, so a nice day out in Saskatchewan. And Cold Lake all the way up to 24 degrees today. They've got a mix of sun and cloud as well. So really nice looking at the temperatures here across the region, and we'll see that here, the current temperatures here in the Lake Landon area. We've got Lloydminster sitting at that 19-degree mark. We see Marwayne at 22 today, as is Bonnyville. We see St. Paul at 20 degrees today, and then Cold Lake, as mentioned, at that 23 mark. We got Wainwright at 23 degrees as well. Provost at 21, Vegreville at 21, and then Edmonton a little bit cooler at 19 degrees today. We look on the Saskatchewan side, and they're quite a bit warmer across the area. North Battleford at 25 degrees right now. Across at 21, as is Meadow Lake. Pearson and St. Walburg at 22, Green Lake at 23, and then Maidstone and Macklin sitting at 20 degrees right now. In North Battleford this evening, we're going to be seeing a couple of showers, but otherwise the clouds will be breaking up. 6% chance of that precipitation and a low of 12 degrees out in Saskatchewan. Cold Lake's going to be a little cooler and partly cloudy at a low of 11, but way less chance of any rain hitting them today. 15% chance we'll likely not be seeing anything there. And here in Lloydminster, a couple of showers this evening. Otherwise, will be mostly cloudy, a low of 12 degrees, a 64% chance of that rain coming down here in Lloydminster. And now we'll take a look at our 3-day forecast here. On Thursday, it's going to be mostly cloudy tomorrow, high of 23 degrees and a low of 12, but we're not going to be seeing any rain, hopefully. Mostly cloudy and breezy on Friday, a high of 24 there. That will continue on into Saturday, with it being 24 degrees again. It'll be more partly sunny, a little less clouds on Saturday, and that low of 12 staying the same throughout these upcoming 3 days. So we're hopefully not going to be seeing a little bit of rain. Let's get some sun, help the crops germinate, and it'll be a nicer day out there. But that will do it for our first look at the weather forecast. We'll have some more news headlines coming up after the break.
The Saskatchewan Summer Games are quickly approaching, but work still needs to be done, including recruiting a few more volunteers. Our Thomas Wildman has more.
Today, I'm joined by Wendy Plandowski, the co-chair of the Saskatchewan Summer Games, which will be taking place here in Lloydminster, July 21st to 27th. And so thank you so much for joining me today, Wendy.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Wendy, so we've been talking before that this is one of the longest planned Saskatchewan Summer Games of all time. Just talk to me about that whole experience that Lloydminster has gone through to try and be hosting these games over these last couple of years.
Well, thanks. Yeah, you know, we put the bid in back in 2018 for the 2020 Saskatchewan Summer Games, and then of course the pandemic, made us cancel those games, and so we were able to, I think, revitalize our committee and get some new volunteers organized to host these Saskatchewan 2024 games. So this has been a long time coming, and we could not be more excited.
And so just 3 weeks away from the Saskatchewan Summer Games, what has been the planning been like for this year, and a lot of the things that you guys have been doing so far, preparing for all of the events and kids that are going to be coming to Lloydminster coming up here in July?
You know, I think one of the great things about hosting a multi-sport event like this is that there is so much leadership that comes from the Saskatchewan Games Council. They give you the template. You just have to find the right people, get the right resources, the right sponsors. We have great community partners, including, I can't say enough about our Lloydminster City Council and the staff at the City of Lloydminster. They have been so supportive since day one. We truly are blessed to have so many people that are just, spreading out the work. I mean, obviously many hands make light work. We've got about 100 organizing committee members, and now of course we need about 1,000 volunteers to make it all work. So we know the community will come through for us like they always do. We have one of the best communities, I think, in Canada for something like this.
And we'll focus a little bit on the community. With the Saskatchewan Summer Games, you guys want to have some of the best facilities available for all the kids. And so those upgrades being made to Lloydminster will be here for years and years to come. And so how important is that for the City of Lloydminster as well?
That's a big part of it. And I know whenever we put in a bid for something like this, we know there's impact on facilities. There's been, $500,000 just this cycle put into the baseball diamonds, the softball diamonds, the soccer field, beach volleyball, all of these different legacy items that we have. And, it's just incredible to see all of the facilities that are really premier facilities in the province of Saskatchewan. And then in addition to that, the economic spin-off. So, the economic spin-off to our, community will be in the probably $6 to $8 million range. So it's a significant, really positive thing that's going to happen in our community for lots of different reasons.
And you also mentioned earlier the need for volunteers. How has that volunteer drive been going so far? And if people are interested in volunteering, how can they get involved?
It's an easy process. And, to protect our athletes, we do have an extra step this time of a criminal record check and a vulnerable sector check, which I think any parent and every community member understands. And so it's simple. You just go onto our website and just fill out the registration form. The process down at the RCMP station literally takes like 2 or 3 minutes to fill out that. That comes back to us, and then it's shift selection. And the shifts are so varied. I was, working on some with a community member the other day, and they were just so impressed at how many different opportunities there were to volunteer. You don't have to be, an athletic official to volunteer. You could be interested in culture. You could be interested in helping out at the food center, the athletes village. There's so many different ways to get involved, and that's where the magic happens, right? Like, that's where you really feel that community spirit.
All right, and finally, you mentioned going to the website. What is that website exactly, and where can they find more information about all the sports and volunteering as well?
So you just go to saskgames.ca. From there, you'll see the Lloydminster button that you push. We also have a games office at Synergy Credit Union. Synergy Credit Union is our volunteer sponsor. You can walk into Synergy Credit Union, and they will point you in the right direction. In fact, today we actually have someone set up there. On Thursday, we're going to be at the farmers market. You can message one of our organizing committee members, go on social media. Everybody will point you in the direction of getting involved to volunteer, and it's not a difficult process at all.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all the information today, Wendy, and we definitely look forward to a fantastic Saskatchewan Summer Games here in Lloydminster, finally, and it will be such a great time to cover all the events.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Appreciate it.
This summer is shaping up to be a more typical one than last year. Due to dry conditions last summer, there was less severe weather in our region. I sat down with an expert to find out what we can expect in the weeks ahead. Peter Quinlan is a meteorologist with Global News. Thank you for joining me today, Peter. We've been seeing quite a bit of watches and warnings coming at us from various sources. Can you tell us what the season has been like so far?
Yeah, we are kind of just getting into the main heart of summer severe weather season. It usually kicks off in June, sometimes a little bit later in May at times. But really the main brunt and the most active time is right through the month of July into early August. So even the end of June, that's why we've been seeing that severe weather activity ramp up. There's a few reasons for that. These are the hottest days of the year. These are also some of the most humid days of the year. So we've had the June rains, and humidity allows air to rise a little bit faster, and that's when we get the storm development, where you get those big buildup of the cumulonimbus cloud. So that's kind of why this is the time of year where we're in the most ripe conditions. Also, the crops are right. We have a process called evapotranspiration, where some of the moisture from the crops goes into the air, further fueling this buoyancy that creates these strong storms.
With the weather warnings that we've had, have we seen anything that's been particularly destructive around?
We have seen some tornadoes to the west of Lloydminster in that area southeast of Edmonton. We don't have any major reports of damage. You'll remember, I believe it was about a year ago in the Carstairs area of Alberta, we had some pretty destructive tornadoes, or one in particular. So we have seen some tornadoes that touch down in fields, and because the majority of the area across the prairies, where we're kind of what we call Canada's Tornado Alley, is fields, that's usually where most of these tornadoes touch down. So that's kind of what we want. That's the ideal scenario. If we do see a tornado go through a community or even just a few farm buildings, they can be incredibly destructive because they can have winds in excess of 300 kilometers per hour, ripping apart buildings. So that's what we don't want to see. And at this point, we don't have any major destruction from tornadoes on the prairies reported as of yet, but that can change.
We had a fair amount of rain over the long weekend. Are we going to see any more of that in the short term?
Whenever we have thunderstorms, we always have the potential, Leanne, of seeing heavy downpours. So those are kind of almost impossible for us to predict in advance. That said, looks like we could see a stormier day on Friday, and there's always that chance a random pop-up thunderstorm can develop and sit over the city for a number of hours and dump sometimes a month's worth of rain. At this point, it doesn't look like that'll be the case. And actually, as we head into the weekend and next week, we're going to see a big ridge that basically deflects all those storms into the territories, and we'll see a big blast of heat. Some people will be happy to hear that. We'll be in those even mid-20s, upper 20s potentially over the weekend into next week. So it will bring in a big blast of summer weather. It will just deflect those storms to the north. So areas that need moisture, we won't be getting a ton, at least into the first half of July.
With some of the severe weather that some areas in southern Saskatchewan and other places have we seen much crop damage or anything like that?
Yeah, that is the good news. With a lack of storms comes a lack of hail, and of course, as the crops mature, that can be devastating to area farmers and producers. We don't want to see that, and yeah, so it is good news in that sense. On the flip side, though, that increases the fire danger rating. We may see fire bans put in place, and then of course we also need moisture for those fields because irrigation is pretty limited in the Midwest region. So yeah, we're hoping and praying for more moisture later in July. It just looks like the first half will probably be quite dry.
You touched on the humidity becoming an increasing factor. Will it be impacting people a little bit more? I know some people can't handle it.
Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head there. We are into a much more moist air mass, and as a result of the crops adding that moisture into the air, it does make it feel at times 2 to 5 degrees warmer than normal. So when we get to those upper 20s and mid 20s later this week, or I should say into the weekend and next week, we will see humidex values making it feel more like the low to even at times potentially mid 30s. And that's when we start talking about the risk of heat related illnesses. So, and because you just don't really get that relief, and it's fairly dry in Lloydminster, but people do need those cooler overnight temperatures as well. And we may or may not see those every day. So yeah, the moisture definitely adding to it. And then when we sweat, less of our sweat evaporates into the air because the air already has enough moisture. So that is another factor as well.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Peter, and filling me in on the weather picture as we get into July here. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is time now to have a look at all of the pet pictures that you've been sharing with us for our Pets of the Day.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to have them featured on Pet of the Day.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery, downtown Lloydminster.
Well, it's that time of the week again when we sit down with Stephanie Dobson. Stephanie is a lawyer, mediator, and online educator with Haga Divorce Law and Mediation, offices in Lloydminster and Edmonton. And this is another episode of Healthy, Thriving Family After Divorce. Stephanie, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks again, Stacey, as always.
Our features always focus around separation and divorce, Stephanie, but we haven't really got into talking about the difference between the two. So that's what we're going to do today. So the first thing we're going to do is talking about separation. So can you explain what exactly separation means?
So, the term separation is what occurs when two people who are married or living together in a conjugal relationship wish to end their relationship. So, there's nothing specific that needs to be done to be considered as, quote, separated. It's more the state of the relationship being over. So there's no court application need to be brought. There's no declaration that needs to be made to go from a state of being together to being separated. So having said that, there's often things that need to be negotiated soon after separation. And that's things like, we've talked about it in previous episodes, dividing up assets and debts, the finances, so things like child support and spousal support, and then of course issues around parenting, scheduling, decision making, and all things relating to parenting.
Now, do you have to be living in two separate homes to be considered separated?
Well, yes and no. So when it comes to CRA, they want to see two separate addresses to consider yourselves as separated. That's the first cutoff kind of threshold. That's arguable, and certainly you can push back on that if someone's living in a camper, for example. But from CRA's point of view, that's what they like to see. So separation can certainly be solidified by moving physically into two homes, but it's not necessarily the only way to be considered as separated. So you can be separated while living under one roof. So if spouses want to divorce, most often what we call the no fault provision of the Divorce Act will be used, which means that you need to prove that you've been living, quote, separate and apart for 1 year. So how do you prove that type of thing? I've got a whole list here of ways that you can prove that. So I'll give you some examples to our
Sure.
viewers. So separating out your bedrooms, no longer socializing together, being open about your marital status with friends, family, and even with the kids, parenting separately, being financially separate, even sexual relations or the absence thereof can be a factor. So it's more so about putting all these factors together to determine whether you're able to consider yourselves separated under one roof.
Okay, well, now let's turn to the divorce side of things, Stephanie. So, how is that different from separation?
Well, divorce is the capital D divorce is the legal act of no longer being married spouses. So there's 3 steps to finalizing that divorce. So the first step is actually filing the claim for divorce in court. The second step is actually having a divorce judgment granted, which involves filing some paperwork with the court and signing off on some things for the court's purposes. So it doesn't necessarily, I want to distinguish that for our viewers, it doesn't necessarily involve physically attending court. There may need to be a reason to go to court if spouses need a judge to decide something for them if they can't decide it on their own. But if you've negotiated everything outside of the courtroom, we're using processes that we use in our office, like collaborative divorce, mediation, or even settlement-based divorce, then you don't even have to go to court. You just have to submit things to court. And then the third step is the divorce certificate. So that's issued 31 days after the divorce judgment takes effect. And that causes you to no longer be, quote, spouses on an official basis.
So, how do couples know, Stephanie, if they want to separate or if they want to divorce?
So I always encourage spouses to worry first about the separation and then move to the divorce when it's time for that. So there's reasons why a person may want to file court paperwork. In the previous question, we were talking about the steps to getting that divorce. So the first step is filing that court paperwork. So there's a reason why a person might want to file that court paperwork to get the divorce process started, but the actual topics don't necessarily need to be negotiated or done through the courts. So in order to grant an actual divorce, that's where you are no longer legally married. The court will need to know the arrangements you've made with your spouse for the kids, for the finances, and for the property division. So I always recommend to families to first focus on the substance of the issues to be resolved. And then once that's completed, then we can worry certainly about requesting the court end the marriage by that capital D divorce.
All right. Once again, lots of information, but lots of good information, Stephanie. So, thank you for joining me this week, and we'll be back to chat again next week.
Thanks, Stacey.
All right, it's time to take another look at the weather forecast. We're going to take a look here at the future radar, and we're not going to be seeing a lot coming through Lloydminster, but we're getting that some patches of severe weather, especially down, as you can see here, just a little bit in Calgary and Lethbridge, and then some spread about into the Regina, and a really big system coming down there on the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border. Brandon's going to be seeing some heavy rain as well as Regina there towards the end of Thursday morning. Taking a look now at the current temperatures across the central part of both provinces, Lloydminster and Cold Lake sitting at 19 degrees, as is Edmonton. We get a bit further out west, Red Deer, Rocky Mountain House, and Edson all at 14 degrees. Whitecourt just a little bit warmer at 15 degrees. Nice and warm in Athabasca today at 21 degrees, with Jasper sitting at 18 degrees right now. Taking a look at the Saskatchewan side, they're nice and warm as they get a little bit further east. Meadow Lake sitting at 24 degrees today, 25 for North Battleford and Melfort, Saskatoon also at 24 degrees, and Prince Albert sitting at 26 degrees. Taking a look down south, Alberta, on the Alberta side, we got Medicine Hat sitting at 20 degrees, Coronation at 19 degrees, Calgary and Banff at 14 and 13, and then Lethbridge sitting at 17 degrees today. Hopefully we can see some nicer weather down south in Calgary, as Calgary Stampede will be beginning very shortly here on Friday. On the Saskatchewan side, Kindersley sitting at 22 degrees, with Moose Jaw, Regina, and Estevan all at 24 degrees, Yorkton at 25, Swift Current a little bit cooler at 20 degrees for them today. Taking a look at tomorrow's forecast here in Lloydminster, we're going to be starting earlier in the morning at 6 a.m. Intermediate clouds with a high of 13 degrees. It'll be warming up nice and warm to 21 degrees at noon. It'll be mostly cloudy there. And then at 6 p.m. we'll keep with that mostly cloudy, 22 degrees. It'll get a little bit warmer in between there, closer to 3 to about 23, 24. And then at midnight, high of 15 degrees, mostly clear. So a nice evening and a very nice Thursday for you here in the border city. Taking a look elsewhere, North Battleford is going to be similar, a high of 24 degrees, partly sunny. It's going to be a nice day out there. 25% chance of rain. Probably won't be seeing any of that, but just a nice day out in Saskatchewan. And a little bit up north at Cold Lake, they're going to have a high of 25 degrees, but a thunderstorm in spots tomorrow in the afternoon. There's possibly some rain coming with that, a 40% chance of that. So hopefully that isn't too big of a storm out in Cold Lake, and hopefully they can keep it over there if it is going to be something major. But still a very nice day out in Cold Lake, a high of 25 degrees. Now taking a look at the travel forecast, we'll start with Meadow Lake. They're going to be at a high of 26 degrees with an afternoon and shower in spots. There's also going to be a shower down in Paradise Hill, 24 degrees for them. Nice and warm in Isle Cross tomorrow, 29 degrees. It'll be a bit cloudy at Provost, and Bonnyville will see a mix of sun and cloud, but a nice high of 25, so it'll be nice and pleasant out there. Taking a look a little further away, we're going to see thunderstorms in Murnum and Wainwright. Highs of 23 for them, and those will both be in the afternoon, similar to Cold Lake. High of 25 in Pearceland tomorrow. Unity is going to be sitting at 22. And then Calgary is going to warm up to 21 degrees, though they're going to see a few showers, 86% chance of precipitation there. And now looking at the extended 7-day forecast, we're starting on Sunday. It'll get even warmer, up to 26 degrees, nice and sunny there. A little less clouds as well. Monday, we're going to get up to 28 degrees, and then 29 degrees on Tuesday next week, and then all the way up to 31 degrees a week from today. It'll be sunny and very warm, though there is that possibility that it's going to be very humid during those times, but that really nice weather will be very nice to see for sure.
Yep, definitely time to make sure that your air conditioning is working for sure.
Oh yes, it's going to be a sunny, moist time there for a while.
Absolutely. Well, that's all we have for you this evening. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a good night.